Hey guys, welcome to the Spiritable podcast. My name is Luke.
And my name is Richard. I'm currently getting my master's in theology.
And I have absolutely no marketable skills whatsoever.
And we're going to be talking about spirituality and everyday life struggles from our non-traditional Christian background.
Obviously, we don't have all the answers, so we're going to be dragging on some guests to diversify and talk about their opinions and perspectives.
Yeah, and we think it's weird that people aren't more open talking about spiritual ideas and stuff like this in everyday conversation. So we're talking about it here.
Boom. And we have like 0 listeners or followers, so jump on board. We're having a blast anyway. What up? Thanks for tuning in to the Spiritable podcast, and today we are doing a...
Wait, can we start over? Yeah. I rubbed my face road as you said what up. And it was weird.
All right, we're going to do what up like this. What up?
We're both going to do that?
A little ode to Mac and Charlie. What up? Welcome back to the Spiritable podcast, and today... Oh, it was great. It was great. What up? Welcome back to the Spiritable podcast, where this week we have no guest. We hate them because this week we are doing a spiritual overview of exactly what our religion, philosophy, spirituality is. Because I realize that newcomers coming to this podcast don't have an episode where we lay out exactly what we believe. And that's a super useful thing, especially when we have guests coming on that have their own worldview or background, so that now listeners can know where we're coming from and where our guests are coming from, and we can all be one little happy family, and it'll just be a joy. So, Richard, what are the 4... We're just going to lay out the 4 big bad boy tenets of our religion.
Yeah, so we're going to cover 4 sort of major overarching things that are different, sort of set us apart. Those 4 things are: who is God? What's our take on the Bible? How do we get to heaven?
I don't know.
What's the point of living?
Who knows?
And what's heaven like? What's hell like? Is there an afterlife?
Who's to say? Yeah, and obviously this isn't like an all-encompassing overview of every single thing we believe. There are lots of little stuff here and there that we'll go into on different episodes, but I think this will give a good core overview of where we're coming from. I'm excited.
Yeah, and if any of the things pique any questions for you, feel free to put them in the comments. Yeah. And we'll address them in the next episode or an episode to come.
Yeah, that'd be great. So our first big tenet is the question of who is God, which is a tricky question. But Richard, you have any good answers?
Yeah, and I think the concept of God is really important because I think in a lot of ways it may not feel immediately connectable, but it affects the way we understand sort of the rest of our religious belief. Mm-hmm. So knowing who God is sort of affects everything else.
Key piece of the framework.
Mm-hmm. And so we are a branch of Christianity, so we believe in Jesus Christ. A big distinction is that we believe that Jesus Christ is the one God. We don't believe in a trinity of persons. We do believe in a trinity of aspects. So in the word, when it talks about sort of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, it's talking about different parts of one God, like different hats, different jobs,
different roles.
Yeah. And so the Father that it's talking about is talking about the loving part of God, the part of God that loves everyone and wants everyone to go to heaven, everyone to be happy. So we also kind of get rid of this idea of an angry God that's trying to smite or judge everyone for their evil. And the Son that it talks about, we think of as sort of the truth of God, the wisdom of God. This idea of, he loves everyone, and how can his love help people? What is the plan to help people get to heaven?
And then the Holy Spirit is the execution of that plan?
Yeah, sort of like providence, of God leading in subtle ways.
Yeah, just as we always think, love, or feel, and do, God's kind of the reflection of that. I don't know if that's...
Or rather, we're the reflection of him.
Yeah, that's a better way of putting it. To back it up, the big takeaway is that there is one God, or not 3 parts of God. It's one God with different aspects. Basic way of putting that.
Yeah.
Our second big doctrinal point is the Bible. It's centered around like the Word and what we believe about it. Just like every religion has a set of sacred texts, or a philosophy has writings that they base their view off of, we use the Bible, which are the Old and New Testament, and a set of writings by a man named Emanuel Swedenborg. Pretty chill bro, but we'll get into him in a second.
So like he said, we believe in the Old and New Testament, and for those of you who have read the Bible at all, there's definitely some stuff in there that's really hard to understand how it's relatable to our lives.
And for those heathens who haven't, get out of here. We don't want your
Don't
kind.
listen to him. Don't listen to him. You trying to ruin our take, Luke?
No.
All right.
I'm through, baby.
So there's stuff about just sort of war and death, and there's this stuff about like strange visions people saw. That's kind of hard to understand. And we believe that underneath all of this, the entire thing is symbolic.
Physically underneath of it. If you just lift it up, you got it.
Why are you just trolling right now so hard?
I feel like I need to troll it.
Okay.
Basically, if you take the Bible and you take one of the pages and hold it up to a light, just like how you can get Illuminati Abraham Lincoln shining through a $5 bill, you can see some cool stuff
So
in there.
you take a page of the Bible, you turn it over, you sprinkle lemon juice on it.
Yeah.
All these words, they show up.
They show up, and then you're just, boom, and you're enlightened.
Boom. Just like
Boom.
that. All right. So underneath all of it, there's a symbolic message that's talking about our spiritual lives and our relationship with God. And there is this guy, Emanuel Swedenborg, who was a scientist in the 18th century, and he all of a sudden started to have this sort of spiritual awakening and wrote a bunch of stuff about this deeper spiritual sense of the Bible. It's really cool, very, very applicable to your actual life and sort of the daily struggles of spiritual growth. And it opens the Bible up in a new way.
Yeah, it's a really cool supplement to the Bible. Like, the Bible is of utmost importance, for sure. And Swedenborg and what he wrote and what he was enlightened to see, if you believe that, helps us and just helps me on a personal level, like read the Bible and be able to understand more personally what it's saying to me and how I can shape my life and live my life to a better extent, which is pretty darn cool. And a lot of people can, I think, write off Swedenborg as a mystic or a loony bin, but it's hard to argue with the really real stuff that he writes a bunch of the time. So take it or leave it, but it's some pretty great stuff that's going to help people live a happier life, I think.
Yeah, and we believe, so a lot of mainline Christianity is waiting for the second coming of the Lord. And
this is a big one where we do divulge from the norm.
So this is a big difference.
Buckle up, buddy. Prepare yourself.
We believe that this second coming is more talking about a new way to connect with the Lord, a new way to understand the Lord, and a new way for him to be present in your life. And you do that through an understanding of the Word. And this new understanding of the Word that we're talking about, we believe, is this second coming.
Yeah, like something beyond Leviticus telling us how many bulls to slaughter, something that relates to us on a deep personal level that can guide our everyday lives, is this second coming that can be in all of us, no matter where we're coming from. And so we don't believe that Jesus is going to physically resurrect and come with fire and brimstone to judge mankind. We believe that it's a more personal approach to how the second coming works.
That's our understanding of Scripture, and it's where we base our beliefs.
Yeah. So I know it's a little out there, but I think it makes sense. Cheers, lads. I'll drink to that, bro.
Don't back up.
I was gonna start by a whisper. It's a good cut. It'll be a good jump cut.
I don't need more.
It'll be a good jump cut. I'm just gonna whisper and then I'm gonna back out and talk normally. Also, if you're looking for more interesting stuff on who Swedenborg is, go check out our buddies at Off Left Eye. Sick plug for them right now because they're a great channel who go in more depth on who Swedenborg is as a person and a bunch of his more in-depth theological writings. Go check them out, Off Left Eye. Quick plug.
Yo, Ben behind the camera, throwing a link.
Flap!
Boom.
But you also didn't say on YouTube, so
it's obvious that it's going to be on YouTube.
Yeah, but if they're listening on iTunes or something.
You're a person of the 21st century. You're with me. Ben sucks. Leave a comment. #Ben sucks.
#Ben sucks. Follow us on Twitter. We don't have a Twitter. We're doing. We're not on.
We will
I'll make a
eventually.
Twitter.
All right, we're gonna make Twitter now. Right now.
Point number 3. We're about to lay some hot truths on you, so get ready. Because this one is the best. It is my favorite. It is what is going to be the coolest thing you'll hear all day, guaranteed. It is called regeneration, and it's about to save your ass. Tagline for regeneration.
Oh, so much. We're not selling energy drinks, we promise.
Guys, I'm selling some really cool berries. Okay, you get them. And you just have to
buy
sell them to 6
4
other
packs
people.
of regeneration.
Yeah.
For just $894.
8 payments of $890.
Yeah, sorry. You then sell those to other people for $12,000.
We will all profit. Everyone will profit. Our third point is a little thing that we like to call regeneration. Regeneration is super cool. It's probably my favorite individual doctrinal point about our religion because it's so universally applicable. Anyone from any background can get something out of it. Ugh, I love regeneration. Richard, lay some hot truths out there. What it is, boy.
Coming right up. So this idea of regeneration is basically the idea of spiritual growth, becoming a better person. And what it comes down to is we're all basically a big ball of caring about different things we care about. And we will often refer to them as loves. And you've probably heard us say that in
or values,
other
like
podcasts.
where you put your work in.
Yeah, it's a different stuff you care about. We care about some good things, like being nice to people. And we care about some bad things.
Like being selfish.
Or getting my way over other people's, or, X, Y, and Z. You know what a bad thing is. And so we have this mixed bag, and the more we act on a good thing, the stronger our love for that good thing gets.
And the easier it becomes to do that good thing.
Exactly.
And the same thing happens in reverse. The more we repeat evil things or bad things, the stronger that they grow and the harder it is to break out of that.
Yeah, so the more like a person works on generosity and giving to charity, the more they see the benefit of it, the more they become invested in doing it, the more they love it.
Yeah, and so our big thing is that's how you become a good person, is repeatedly making those choices to be a good person, to fight or push back against those bad tendencies in yourself and to choose to do good things. Yeah, so none of these things happen in an instant. Our process of regeneration, of becoming a better person, happens by consistently making those choices to be a better person, to push back against the evil tendencies that want us to be evil people and choose to be good instead.
Yeah, and so then we, over time, become a mixture of sort of what we innately are drawn to. Some people just are innately drawn to liking art or science or different things. So we become a mixture of sort of our innate loves and followed by what we work on and what we create over time. So it's sort of a nature versus nurture, or rather nature and nurture working together.
Yeah, and we're never going to be perfect, but we can consistently make choices to be better.
Yeah, and so there's this idea that no one is saved in an instant. Rather the Lord isn't damning or saving anyone. It's
you.
He leaves people in freedom, and we all make the choice to either do the right thing, which is following the Lord, or not. And there are consequences based on the life that we choose to live, which is a really cool and freeing idea. So it's not like,
super freeing.
Hope God decides to save me.
Yeah.
It's like I have the power to be the person I want to be.
And I think it's good to note that we are given that power from God. Like God is the source of all that is good. So it's not just our human strength that is making us be good people. It's taking what God is always giving to us freely and using it to the best of our ability. And that's regeneration. There's no instantaneous salvation, we don't think, because habits aren't broken in a second. But it's a process of spiritual fulfillment.
And another cool idea is the idea that you can always start that journey. If you're 70 and have never cared about anything but yourself, and you've just been like an ass your whole life,
it's never too late.
It's never too late. You can still start that process. You can still choose that you want to be a good person. And yeah, it might be a lot harder if you start then having already formed all these selfish habits, but you always have the ability to change. And I think that's sort of the greatest human power, is the ability to change ourselves.
Yeah, I think we all understand that, but it's cool to have it written out in our specific doctrine.
Yeah.
With that last part, do you want to call out any old people that you know are bad and be like, now it's time to change?
No, they know who they are.
They know who they are. Okay, fair enough. Moving on to our big last point. We're going to hit him with the hard one, which is the afterlife. And what does that look like? So come along, take my hand, friend, and we'll walk together along this path toward the afterlife. Think that was good?
I really thought you were going to go to the Dragon Tales theme song.
Yeah, I really thought I was expecting.
Take my hand.
Anyways, so start over.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to the last point. We are on to point number 4, which is the afterlife. So we're going to talk about what that looks like. Afterlife, so cool. I love it. Swedenborg wrote some great stuff about it. If you have the time, go check out Heaven and Hell by Emanuel Swedenborg. Very, very, very good book.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff in the writings for our religion that really talk about an in-depth idea of what the afterlife is like. Really breaks down what heaven's like, what everyday life is like there, what hell is like, what everyday life is like there. Some spooky stuff.
And backing out of that.
And what a person does to end up each place. So first and foremost, angels and devils are not a separate cosmic entity, we believe, but they're people. And people that go to heaven are angels, and people that go to hell are devils or evil spirits. And along the same lines, we don't believe that there is the devil or Satan. We don't believe that there's some big leader of hell. We believe that there's God and people that choose to follow God and people that don't.
But that's a tangent of the whole Satan thing. So we could go into that at a different time if we wanted.
Yeah. So yeah, heaven and hell.
So what's it look like when, I think it'd be useful to say what a person who has recently died, the process that they go through to get to either heaven or hell. What's that look like?
Yeah, so in between heaven and hell, or before heaven and hell, one might say, after a person dies, they wake up in a place that's called the world of spirits.
Which is very different than purgatory.
Yeah.
A lot of people think like, oh, an in-between stage, that's purgatory. Not exactly.
No. It's got a whole different structure and reason for being there. It's a time to basically sort of discover what you care about and learn what's true. So we believe in that there is unobjective truth, whether it's ours or not. And when you get to the afterlife, there will be people there that are like, hey, you did a good job, but here's some things that weren't quite right, that were kind of messing you up along the way. And if you're a good person that wants to live a good life, and people are like, here's how you do that, generally you'll be like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's really good to know.
Yeah, hot tip. Live your life like there's always a better way to live your life out there. And be constantly looking for that and adapting toward that. I think, at least. I hope.
And generally, if you wake up and there's a bunch of angels around you being like, hey, you did all right, but here's some things that weren't quite right. And you're like, no. Then you probably care more about you being right than you being good. And then you're probably not a good person.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So people that are good people and care about others and care about God go to heaven. And people that care about themselves and don't care about anyone else go to hell. And God doesn't send anyone to either place.
You choose it.
People choose it. There's no forced salvation or damnation.
Hell is not fire being rained down on you. It's not eternal torture. It's where you go because of how you lived your life. And it's ultimately where you want to go because of the person you are.
Yeah, in the same way that on Earth people generally like to be around people that have similar interests to them. You form little clubs of interests.
You can form your own club in hell. Go for it.
Yeah, in the
Hell's
same
your
way.
oyster. Find the pearl.
But to a much greater degree, people that only care about themselves don't want to be around people that want to be so nice and care about everyone and do the right thing and follow God. They only want to follow themselves. And so they go where other people agree with them. Mm-hmm. But it ends up being pretty terrible because no one cares about you.
Yeah.
If you're the only person that cares about you at all. And so it's just a bunch of people that are willing to hurt others to get what they want. So it's a pretty pretty crappy place to live.
And in these communities that you go to in heaven or hell where you live, you are living a life and doing things and having fun and being useful and contributing to a larger purpose. It's not just like constant worship or constant torture, because man, that'd be boring, frankly. And a really cool thing about the world of spirits, about that stage where you're figuring out what this truth is and what is real, is that it is accepting of anyone from any background, whether religious or philosophical or anything. That's where you learn what is true. And if what you lived your life believing in and doing is in accordance with that, it's going to be an easy transition, like we were talking about, to adapt that good thing. So like, even if you're part of a different religion on earth and there's a more true religion in the afterlife, if you just try to be a good person in accordance to your beliefs, it'll be an easy transition to adopt those truer things.
Yeah,
right?
Generally when you're faced with the truth at that point, like I said, and you want to be a good person, you take what helps you be a good person. So yeah, anyone of any background, as long as they're doing what they think is right and trying to be a good person, can go to heaven.
And that is so cool.
Yeah.
That's so loving of everyone, while also having a truth. And I just think that's a really, really, really unique thing about our religion, and one that keeps me coming back, honestly.
And I think it also makes religion more than like basically what we do to earn a reward. So it's not like punishment reward based, like I'm being a good person because I don't want to go to hell. It's like, well, I could believe whatever I want according to this and still end up in heaven. But I also think that this stuff helps me be a happier, better person now, too. Mm-hmm. And so it becomes a more whole spiritual experience process.
Just try to be a good person. Don't do bad stuff, and you'll be all right. And then you'll join a community in heaven where you're going to live a dope life with awesome people. And fun bonus fact with that, you're going to be married, because we believe that marriage is eternal and forever, and that if you're in a super great marriage on earth, that you're going to have that marriage for the rest of eternity. Because can you imagine not having that? And if you're in a real shitty relationship on earth, that's not going to last in heaven, because why would it? That doesn't make sense.
Because you're both going to be like, this isn't working, and there's someone else that will really make us happy, and we'll go find that person.
Yeah, and if you aren't married on earth, you'll find a married partner in heaven. And it's just one big place of love, and I'm so excited. Yeah. Fun fact, I did used to cry thinking about the afterlife, because I was like, eternity makes no sense, and I would just bawl my eyes out.
This is like last week.
Good times. So yeah, those are some of the big tenets of big points of our religion, and stuff that we think is pretty unique and cool, but also some stuff that might be a little bit weird. So if you think it's weird, let us know, and we'll have more dialogue about it, because that'd be fun.
And I think there's also some stuff in here that a lot of people that I've talked to have been like, well, yeah, of course, like my religion teaches that as well. And I think a lot of religions all teach the same thing. You should be a good person. You should work on bettering yourself. And I think the difference in a lot of ways for me is that the actual doctrine, the actual like scripture of my religion tells that same story and in depth how to do it, which I think is pretty unique.
Yeah, and we haven't actually said the name of our church yet, I don't think. So if you're curious, we are the General Church of the New Jerusalem. Yep. Mouthful. Could use a rebrand. Gonna low-key slide that in there.
Call ourselves the New Church for short.
The New Church. Newchurch.org is a place you can go for more information.
Well, I had a great time talking about this stuff. But again, this is just what we believe. We might be wrong. Who knows?
We could be sending you straight to hell, and we deeply apologize.
Yeah, our bad. But yeah, we wanted to just give you sort of this groundwork of what we believe. So if you watch any of our other podcasts and we're throwing ideas around, you know where we're coming from. And I'm training to be a minister. So if you have any questions about any of the things we talked about here, if you want further elaboration.
He's on Yelp and Yellow Pages, so if you just want to slam a bad review, just
shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. So if you have any questions, if you want to call me names, if you want to tell me I'm wrong about everything I believe.
If you want his address, I'll give it to you and you can just go smash him in the face.
Yeah, I'm not going to live there for long, so go for it.
Bam.
Yeah,
So
feel free to comment below or send us an email at
spiritablepodcast@gmail.com if you want to write something big old out for us, or just leave it in the comment section below of YouTube. We're also, the audio only version is available wherever you find podcasts, so go hit us up there. If you're looking for more things on what we believe or more doctrinal theological ideas, look up newchurch.org, or we're going to throw a bunch of other links in the description below, so just look at that and that'll direct you to some good places. Yeah, that's a little bit about us. We've had a good time talking about everything, and go check out our newest podcast, which is probably out at the time you're listening to this, which will be more of our day-to-day structure of having a guest on and talking about a specific spiritual or religious point. And hopefully at that point, we'll have better equipment and be way more attractive. So that'll be fun. Thanks so much for listening to the Spiritable Podcast, and we will talk to you guys later.